Hello and welcome. Today we're going to be discussing something that impacts us all on a daily basis, whether we like it or not, and that is called hormones. Whether it be from the feelings of lethargy that you experience while taking an exam due to low blood sugar, or the currently fast beating heart that I'm experiencing due to a high heart rate while giving this speech, or a woman's monthly reminder due to her menstrual cycle. This is all due to hormones that are released in the body by a series of organs that make up something known as the endocrine system. Now, as an aspiring future doctor, I've spent countless hours studying this topic, whether it be from my undergraduate studies to my MCAT preparations for my entrance exam to medical school, and I've taken a profound interest in the topic. So today, I hope to share with you guys some of its functions, a little bit of its anatomy, and finish off with some examples of the endocrine system. But before we can get into any of that, we must first discuss what a hormone actually is. So what is a hormone? A hormone is a chemical messenger released in the body that acts on certain tissues and messages to those tissues to carry out specific functions in the body. And we have two types of hormones. We have direct hormones. Direct hormones are released directly from the brain to a tissue to carry out its function, hence the word direct. And direct hormone. And then we have tropic hormones. Now, tropic hormones are a little more complex, and they create a pathway in the body from the brain to another endocrine organ, and they signal from the brain to another endocrine organ to release its own hormones. So before we get into any examples of this, I think it's important to touch on a bit of the anatomy that makes up the endocrine system so that those examples make a little more sense. Now, we can start off in the brain with the hypothalamus. Now, the hypothalamus is located right here, and its function is to regulate all hormones being produced and released in the body. So it is kind of the control center of the endocrine system, as we call it. And the next organ would be the pituitary gland, right beneath the hypothalamus. Now, the pituitary gland responds in accordance to the hormones that are being released by the hypothalamus. So when the hypothalamus releases a hormone, it travels to the pituitary, and the pituitary releases hormones in response to the hormones that were released by the hypothalamus. Now, the rest of the organs are outside of the brain in the body that make up the endocrine system. And we can first start off around the trachea in the neck with the thyroid. Now, the thyroid is responsible for releasing hormones that regulate metabolism and calcium levels in the body. We can then move to the kidneys. Now, the kidneys are right here in the body, in our abdominal region, and they contain two little things known as adrenal glands on top of them. And these adrenal glands are responsible for water homeostasis, salt homeostasis, and even a little bit of sugar levels, even though we'll discuss another organ that's a little more specifically invested in sugar levels. But the adrenal glands can regulate sugar levels during times of stress response when we are in fight or flight. So whenever someone almost hits you while you're driving through an intersection because they ran a red light, your adrenal glands would be responsible for producing and synthesizing sugar in that moment. And now we'll discuss the pancreas. Now, the pancreas is the organ I was hinting to earlier, and it regulates blood glucose levels, which is just blood sugar in general. Now, we commonly associate the pancreas with diabetes, which could be hyperglycemia, which is too much sugar in the body, so too high of a blood sugar. And then we move into the gonads. Now, the gonads in the female anatomy would be the uterus, and in the male anatomy would be the testes, and these are responsible for producing sex hormones such as estrogen, testosterone, and progesterone. So testosterone in males and progesterone and estrogen in women to regulate their menstrual cycles. And now that you guys understand a bit of the anatomy and what hormones actually are, we can move into some concrete examples directly addressing the two hormones that I discussed earlier. And we'll start off with direct hormones. Now, direct hormones could be something known as oxytocin. Oxytocin would be produced directly in the hypothalamus and travel from the hypothalamus via the bloodstream to the uterus of a woman during childbirth. And this would aid and assist in uterine contractions and help the mother push the baby out. And then we move into the complex example of tropic hormones, which all starts in the brain. And we can start here in the hypothalamus. We'll give an example about thyroid hormones using the tropic pathway. So it starts in the hypothalamus with a hormone known as thyroid releasing factor, and this travels to the pituitary gland, which responds by releasing a hormone of its own known as thyroid stimulating hormone, TSH, if you've ever heard of it. And this travels to an organ known as the thyroid, as we discussed earlier. And the thyroid produces hormones of its own known as triiodothyronine and thyroxine, which regulate metabolism, as I discussed in the functions discussion earlier in this speech. So now you know it. That's the endocrine system. It's very hard and complex, but it can be broken down to make things more simple using basic terminology and simple explanations. So go explain it to your friends. Go explain it to a parent who may be experiencing hyperthyroidism or hypothyroidism and is struggling to lose weight, because it could all just be due to some sort of hormone imbalance that's flowing throughout their body. Thank you. I hope you enjoyed this speech and have a great day.